On this episode of Carnage, the Ute is heading back to MPW to get a beefy rear end. So here we are, we've got our dummy engine in the car, we've got a power glide in the car, but the car needs a heap more fabrication, and the boys at MPW are going to take that on, but we're 2 weeks out from Drag Challenge and we're not going to make it. I mean, I think that's pretty evident. When this video drops, we're probably going to be at Drag Challenge, or past it. But the car's still going to get done. We're still going to finish it and we're still going to do drag and drive events with it. It's just, it's disappointing personally to me because I think this is the first target we haven't really hit. Some may say Turbo Taxi, you haven't met that target, but hey, it went 11-0. We're looking for a 10-9. It'll do it. Don't get me started. But anyway, so just heading back to MPW. We're going to put the turbos in the car, the floaters, the diff, everything, put it in the car, send it off to Adam. Him and his crew can work their magic and we can get concentrating onto the Lexan, which you will also see coming up because, yeah, we're going to try and get the Lexan to Drag Challenge instead. We're at that point where if we spend a little bit of time on the Lexan, it'll make it. We could spend all the time in the world on this and it will still not make it. That's just the reality of it. So, yeah, tow truck will be here shortly. So whack it on that, send it over to the boys. Here's something you haven't seen yet. Strange double adjustable coilovers. So it's got 2 dials on it. We haven't got springs yet. We've got to work out what springs we need to order, but they won't cost much. Yeah. Something else you haven't seen yet. 2 Pulsar 1200 horsepower mirror image turbos. We'll unbox them probably over at MPW, but yeah, that's going to look cool. Mirror image turbos, so the scrolls will mirror each other. It'll look very tidy. Looking forward to seeing them in the car. Okay. So there's our strange floaters, our Woolwood discs. Wow, this thing's getting some good gear in it, isn't it? So we've got the Ute in here at MPW. We've got our Pulsar turbos. Let's have a look inside. Oh, we've got boxes inside boxes. Ugh, get off there. All right. There we go, there's one side. Have a look at this side. So as you can see, they mirror each other. It's the first time I've ever used the mirror image turbos. That's pretty cool. Gives you symmetry in the engine bay. Should look pretty awesome. So each turbo is 1200 horsepower capable. If you were going off the Garrett scale, it'd be like a G42 1200 compact. What do Pulsar call them? Well, there it is on the side of the box. So 73, 75G reverse rotation. So that's the mirror image one. That's the normal rotation there. 1.15 AR V band. But yeah, so 73, 75. in terms of millimeters, so 73 inducer, 75 on the exhaust, but yeah, pretty decent sized turbos. This thing's going to go fast. Comes with 1/2 inch studs, and then I've got 5/8 there as well. So I presume it's, yeah, made.
Well made.
So yeah. Okay. Nice. Over to the bench. Gotta love these RTS housings. Got drain plug there, fill plug there, all nicely welded. So we've got Joey here ripping out the diff. It's going to be out in the next 3 minutes, I reckon. So we're going to need to get it out so we can measure up our clearance for our diff and how wide it needs to be. Also, you know, get our tyres up there and make sure that the tyres are going to fit. But yeah, it is all happening at a rapid rate. There we go. King spring. Just these main spring pads now. Get them out of there and we can let the real work begin. All right. Finally. There we go. That one was a bit quicker. Mainly because I decided to not drill the welds. I just went with a chisel. It seemed to work. All right, flappy disc time. Clean it all up. Well, wasn't that a pain in the ass? But it's done now. We are fully committed. The chassé rails were all cleaned off with all the old bracketry. So yeah, there is no going back, only forward. So now that that's all done, the boys from MPW can hook in there, get the diff made up, make up whatever mounts they need to do. Yeah, tomorrow, probably. But it won't be today because I'm going home and I need a beer.
So we've been busy for the last few days. Part of the deal with this car is we've got to fit a rear end up into it. So Scotty supplied us with this RTS rear housing. Now, when you get a rear housing, it is literally just a pumpkin and some tubes. We've got to cut it to length. We're putting a Strange floater kit into it. Scott's running a 35 spine Strange floater kit thanks to VPW. So we've gone through and we've made all of our own bracketry for it. We cut it all in-house, we CAD draw it in-house, and this is bracketry that we've used before to get a really good instant center in the car for radials. It's what we call our radial bracketry. What we've done is we've actually modified it on this so we can bring a coilover inwards. So we've just drawn these coilover rears so we can put one of our brackets onto the back of it, and that'll bring it inwards of the rail. Now, the reason we've gone a little bit narrower than normal on this diff is on the VS Commodore Ute, the lower arm is on an angle, so we've pulled that out of the body, and we've made up some new upper and lower brackets here. So what we'll do is they'll go in, give us more adjustment, and they'll plate up against the floor. We're going with a shorter top arm still. It gives us more separation on the hit, which is what we want with a radial car anyway, so we always try to go a shorter top arm on our radial stuff. Now, in this car, we'll show you in a minute, but it's actually started pulling all of the top bracketry off of the floor as these things do. So instead of just repairing that, what we're doing is we've cut it off the floor, we've made some new tops for it, we're going to 3mm plate the whole floor, and then we're going to weld our bracketry back onto that, which again gives us more adjustment as well. So whatever ride height the boys end up having with this, we can adjust it, we can set instant center, and we'll go through and we use a computer program for all of this now, where we can measure all of our ride heights, measure our holes, measure where our body sits and where our chassis, our rear axle sits, and then that will work out instant center for us, so we can set it all up properly. So we'll go over, we'll show you that after this, but obviously we've still got to put our wishbone in, so we run a wishbone instead of a panhard bar with these. As the car separates with a panhard bar, it's tied to one part of the chassis. So obviously what happens is as it comes up, the axle moves over, which can unsettle the car. If we run a diagonal link, which goes from the back of the lower point here to the front of that lower point, what that does is that will keep it dead square for us, but then we can't run an exhaust on a street car. So what we've opted for is running a sliding wishbone. Now this is literally how our wishbones start out. All it is just a piece of tube, slides inside another piece of tube. So we've got to put bracketry up here for it. We'll make a wishbone which comes backwards and secures to the chassis. So as this diff comes up and down, it can slide in and out, which keeps the diff central. So that opens up the whole back of the car for us. It opens up room for an exhaust to come through and keeps everything nice and clean and tidy while holding the axle dead center in it. So as we said, we've drawn up some bracketry for these things. So what happens is where the factory ones come off the floor, so you can see it started pulling out. So we'll move these brake lines, we'll plate all of this, and then this will sit roughly here. So that stitches to a bit of 3mm, which then stitches to the floor, securing it all up, and gives us 3 adjusting holes instead of the 1 from factory. And then these lower arms, or lower brackets, will sit up on another 3mm plate up in here, which gives us heaps of adjustment. And then we'll tie a chassis connector from here back up to the front of the chassis. So we're going to sit the diff housing up here shortly. We'll get our diff length. So what we do is we've got a bar with hubs on it, and we'll bolt the wheels to it so they're dead square in the tubs, and we'll get our diff length, and then we'll start to shorten the housing. We'll sit it up in here and we'll figure out where our wishbone's going to go. So we're most likely going to be running a bar across from chassis to chassis, and then our wishbone will mount up the top of the diff. So as it goes up and down, it's obviously secured. We can run them underneath the diffs as well, but we want to try and keep the back of this car all open for exhaust.
It's gonna be the ride of your life. It's gonna be the ride of your life.
So we've got Abe in the background doing some final welding on the headers for the car. So what we do, we make all of our collectors in-house, flanges, and this is a 40mm nominal bore. So this will now go into the rotisserie, we'll weld everything up, and yeah, as we say, we like to do steam pipe manifolds over stainless manifolds. A, they don't crack, B, they can support some weight, and they get heat out of the bay quicker than what a stainless manifold does. So as I say, you'll go through and you'll see everything get welded now, and that's a final set of headers. There'll be a V-band here, and the turbos are going to come down and sit just out. Now, we don't know where coil packs are going on this yet, so we've left room for a right angle plug lead to come straight out, and also a right angle plug lead to come straight up onto the rocker cover, so we can put coils anywhere we want and not risk burning leads. So very easy to get spark plugs out to check them on the dyno and after each run, and obviously forward thinking. So what we're doing here is we've got a fast fab welding rotisserie. Now we've had quite a few different rotisseries over the time, and they've all got a dial for adjustment of speed. The good thing about these fast fab units is they actually have preset speeds. So say we're doing steam pipe 40mm nom like this, we can just hit say setting 2 and we know that that's the right setting, what we've got set up with our welder. There's no dialing speed in. So it just makes every weld consistent, it gets the right penetration, and it's got the same quality every time we weld a piece of steam pipe now. We also use these for welding arms, we use them for welding removable cages, we use them anywhere that we can get a round bit of tube, intercooler piping, exhaust tube, all that kind of stuff where you just want it nice and even and consistent.
So we are back at MPW today to try and get our diff housing in the ute. That is the plan for today, and I've got to say, this diff housing is looking pretty amazing. Wow, Adam has knocked it out of the park. I mean, there's still some final stuff to be done with the hubs and that sort of thing. Final welding, but at least we can get this up into the car and get it situated, and then we can start looking about getting some floating hubs on this thing, and yeah, maybe getting some wheels on it. Be nice to have back wheels again. So, yeah, that looks amazing.
So we'll just slide it over your way.
Okay.
That is centre of the tub.
Right, so we've got the diff sat up in there, and it's showing us we're going to have some interesting issues with clearance. We'll see what we have to do about that, but Adam's making up some bottom bars at the moment so we can at least get the diff in some sort of position. What was your measurement? About 17 inches? 17 inches on the bottom bars. We'll see how we go with that. He may have to move the brackets for the top bars further back and recut them and draw them. But yeah, we are making progress. But we may lose our flat floor. Bugger. Right, so Adam has made up some lower bars at the moment just so we can locate the diff kind of in place. It is giving us more information, and that information is not all good. Some of it means that we're going to have to put some sort of hump in the floor of the tray because we need the diff to be higher. Right now it's up against the floor pan, but it needs to be another at least 3 inches higher to get the tyres up into the guards where they need to be, which is not optimal from my point of view. I'd love to have a flat floor. I know everyone else would love to see a flat floor, but the reality is, and anyone who's played with these utes and anyone who has a fast one of these utes or something that's tub, you will always see they have some sort of hump in the floor, and it looks like we're going to have to do that as well. So yeah, like I said, not optimal. It is what it is. Adam's playing with some positioning right now on the front brackets to see where to make the arms the right length on the top side, but we're going to have to do a lot of modifications to the rest of the floor pan. We're going to have to cut this rail out. We're going to have to raise the floor in the center there. There's a bit of work to do, and it's not all going to get done today. So you're going to see it all on a future episode of Carnage.